My name is Sophia, and this happened many years ago when I was 10 years old and attending school. There was a big break, and I was sitting in class, chatting with my friends. Our homeroom teacher entered the class and headed straight towards me. Her face was pale and serious. "Sophia," she said, "I have bad news. Just don't worry and listen. Your mother had an accident at work. Take your things and go to the principal's office." I was so shocked that I didn't know what to think. My friends surrounded me and tried to calm me down. Not understanding anything, I packed my school supplies into my bag and left the classroom. The principal was waiting for me in his office. "I just spoke to your father on the phone," he said. "He told me that your mother was seriously injured. He's on his way to the hospital and wants to pick you up from school. You can wait for him near the school gates. He'll pick you up. Now hurry up." The principal glanced at his watch. But, no buts. The principal said impatiently, "Go and wait for him." "But," I said, "no buts." The principal repeated, "I don't understand why you're still here." "But, I don't have a father," I blurted out. "We live alone with my mom. My dad died when I was little." The principal's jaw dropped. After that, there was a big commotion. Nothing had happened to my mother at all. She came to school and took me home. The police were called. No one was allowed to go home alone. Parents came and picked up their children for safety. To this day, I don't know who that mysterious man was and what he wanted with me. My hair stands on end when I think about what could have happened if I had fallen into his clutches. In my childhood, my favorite toy was a soft toy about the size of a small sofa cushion. It was either a cat or a bear of yellow color. I'm still not sure about its zoological affiliation. Short tail, large ears, red knitwear. Ideally, it was bipedal, with its front paws spread out and its eyes plastic balls of bright blue color, such a strange bear. I carried it everywhere, and I didn't even part with it in my crib. Of all the toys of nursery age, the bear was forgotten the last. But I inevitably grew up, became a dude with a big beard and tattoos, and instead of plush bear cubs, I loved motorcycles. A year ago, I met a girl. Well, met is a stretch. I took her for a ride on my motorcycle. We met a bit. And then we parted ways. She wanted a serious relationship, and I'm a free spirit. As they joke around here, a biker is only married to the road. This girl turned out to be extremely stubborn, didn't want to part ways, made a couple of scenes, and was unequivocally sent in the right direction. And now I think it was she who brought me the troubles I'm about to tell you about. Not that I believe in strange things, but judge for yourself when you read my story. This girl was from Boston. According to her, her ancestors were either shamans or witchers. She mentioned it a couple of times in our conversations, referring to her crazy grandmother who had 7 husbands, and they all died. And when the girl finally realized that I really wasn't going to have anything to do with her anymore, she promised to teach me to appreciate her love. I didn't attach any importance to this and soon forgot about it altogether. A couple of weeks later, I dreamt of the little bear from my childhood. After that dream, for the first time in 25 years, I remembered the toy. The dream was unpleasant. The bear stood in the center of an empty room, in the flickering light of a bulb hanging from the ceiling, and it looked like a hurricane was gathering outside the window. The bear stared at me intently and reached out to me with its paw, as if pointing at something behind my back. I didn't pay attention to the dream. However, the next day I was riding to the motorcycle club, and a drunken idiot in an old Buick cut me off so hard that I crashed into an oncoming car, flew over its hood, and landed on a live hedge planted along the road. And it was that hedge that saved me. I got bruises, a slight dislocation of my shoulder, and the motorcycle was seriously damaged and required expensive repairs. A week later, I dreamt of the bear again. Everything was the same in that room with the flickering light and the approaching hurricane. Only the toy itself looked dirty and shabby, with cuts in some places and cotton sticking out. The bear still persistently pointed at me with its paw. The dream had a depressing effect. For some reason, I vividly remembered sitting by the window in the twilight in early childhood, hugging the toy and waiting for my parents to come back from work. A couple of days passed and a new disaster struck. There was an explosion in the garage while we were welding parts of my wrecked motorcycle. Somehow, a spark from the welding landed in an open canister of gasoline. It exploded so violently that my friend and I were thrown out of the garage. Interestingly, I didn't even get a scratch, but my friend broke his arm. Surprisingly, the property in the garage wasn't severely damaged either. I managed to deal with the fire myself, without even calling the fire department. They wrote about me in the newspapers and wanted to do a report on local television, but apparently my charred beard and stunned look scared off the TV crew. That's when my friend, who broke his leg, jokingly suggested that maybe it was the girl getting back at me. And I started to think, not about that crazy girl, but about the bear. For some reason, I really didn't want it to appear in my dreams again. I even decided to go to the country house, which was practically abandoned that day, and search the attics and basements for the bear among the clutter. But somehow I never got around to it, and exactly a week later, the bear appeared in my dream again. The same eerie room. The bear even more tattered, with singed paws and a face covered in soot. One button eye was almost falling off and dangled on a thread. It felt like it was barely holding on, yet stubbornly beckoning me to pay attention to something. After that dream, I drew the right conclusions. I practically stopped leaving the house, checked multiple times a day to make sure I hadn't forgotten to turn off the gas or left the iron on. But I still had to go to the store near my house for groceries. In one of those trips, some junkies attacked me in the stairwell. They beat us mercilessly, wanting to take the keys to the apartment. They knocked us down and methodically kicked us. They stabbed me in the collarbone area and broke my nose. I fought back with all my might too. Fortunately, someone from the neighbors came down from above, heard the struggle, and loudly called the police on the phone. The attackers fled, and I, barely alive, crawled to the apartment. On the bathroom mirror, something red, possibly lipstick, was written, "I hate you, I hadn't been in the apartment for about 15 minutes. To this day, I can't explain where it came from. By the way, the junkies were caught and jailed, and as soon as I recovered from the attack, with a plaster on my nose and my shoulder bandaged, I went to the country house. I rummaged through everything there, and in the farthest corner, in a dusty bag from under the potatoes, I found the toy. First, I pulled out the bear's head, torn to the flesh, then the body, with cotton sticking out halfway through numerous ragged holes. I spent another hour searching through the small debris at the bottom of the bag to find the missing eye button, but couldn't find it. I took the bear home and personally repaired it, although I had no skills for such a task. I washed it, stuffed new cotton, carefully sewed it up, and even lightly ironed it. I attached a black patch, like a pirate, in place of the lost eye. And later, with the help of a friend from the tailor shop, the bear was dressed in a leather jacket with small studs. Since then, the bear has been sitting prominently in my garage, and sometimes I put it on the handlebars of my motorcycle, and we ride around the city or in motorcycle columns. Clubmates first laughed, but then got used to it, and the toy even became somewhat of our mascot. I've long dreamed of opening a bar for bikers, and I will. I've come up with a name for it, One-Eyed Bear. As for that girl, I did some inquiries about her. Her ex-girlfriend told me that she left the city, apparently to her relatives in Boston. This happened after they found her in the park wearing clothes torn to ribbons, as if by the claws of a large animal, sitting on a bench muttering something and clutching a bright blue plastic ball in her hand.